Picture this: Deadwood, South Dakota, 1876. Gold fever has pulled thousands of desperate men into the Black Hills, and the man you are watching right now has maybe $1.50 left after a 12-hour shift underground. He is exhausted. He is alone. At the far end of the only lit building on Main Street, a dealer is waiting with a smile and a deck of cards that has already been stacked. He does not know it yet. He never had a chance. Today we are pulling back the curtain on the most dangerous game in the Wild West, and it was not a gunfight. It was the saloon. Before we go any further, if you are into the real history of the Wild West, not the Hollywood myth, but the gritty machinery underneath it, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells us to keep making videos like this one. Deadwood was not unique. Tombstone, Arizona had 18 gambling halls running simultaneously by 1881. Leadville, Colorado ran the same operation. Virginia City, Nevada had the same model. Across every boomtown in the West, the pattern was identical. Men doing brutal physical labor for wages that could not accumulate, living in company housing with no realistic path forward and nowhere to go at the end of the day except the saloon. In Deadwood's early years, nearly every building on Main Street housed a gambling table. There were no parks, no community halls. Churches came later, if they came at all. The saloon wasn't one option among many. It was the only option. You went there to eat, to hear human voices, to feel like a person again after 10 hours underground. And sitting right there in the same room, the tables, waiting. A miner looking at that table had maybe $1.50 left after expenses. He knew what next week looked like. The same shift, the same math that never added up. But one lucky night at poker could change everything. The pots were real. Men did walk out ahead. The fantasy wasn't irrational. It was just stacked against him in ways he couldn't see. That's what the saloon was selling. Not cards, not whiskey. The exit door, the one way out of a life that had no exits. Poker and faro dominated Western saloons. Faro looked almost fair, with simple rules, fast hands, and a house edge that seemed nearly even. Poker offered something more seductive, the illusion of skill. When you lost, you blamed yourself. That appearance of fairness was the product. Behind it, the mechanics were criminal. The dealing box used in faro was often a cheat box, manufactured with springs or false bottoms so a dealer could control which card surfaced. This wasn't some secret backroom trick. Manufacturers sold them openly throughout the 1800s. The miner thought he was playing probability. He was playing against a machine that had already decided the outcome. Marked cards were just as common. Pre-marked decks sold specifically to dealers. Cold decks, pre-stacked and swapped mid-shuffle so smoothly no one at the table noticed. Bottom dealing. The expert at the card table, published in 1902, documented all of it in meticulous detail. Cheating had its own published literature, and then there was the casekeeper, who tracked cards in faro so sharp players could calculate the odds. The problem was, the casekeeper worked for the house. A corrupt casekeeper could feed players false information, steering calculated bets directly into losing hands. Here is how the trap closed. A miner sits down with a week's wages. He wins 2 early hands. That is not luck, that is design. The early win is the hook. He is up and he is committed. Then the cheat box starts doing its work. He loses, wins smaller, and loses again. He thinks his luck is about to turn. He is already down enough that leaving feels like surrender. So he stays. That loop, the near miss, the sunk cost, the certainty that the next hand will be different, was not accidental. The saloon was built around this trap. When men caught the cheat, the room got violent fast. Wild Bill Hickok was shot dead in Deadwood in 1876 during a poker game. Gambling grievances tied directly to what happened. In Tombstone and Leadville, accusations of rigging regularly ended with someone on the floor. But even if a man could prove he'd been cheated, who was he going to tell? In Tombstone, Wyatt Earp himself took a percentage of gambling proceeds at the Oriental Saloon. Across the West, saloon owners paid local officials for protection or brought them in as partners. The law and the house were not opposing forces. In most of these towns, they were the same entity. There was no one to complain to, no system to appeal to, no outside authority that was not already collecting from the same table that had just emptied a man's pockets. By the time most men understood what the saloon actually was, the money was gone, and the shaft was waiting for them in the morning. The saloon did not beat these men at a fair game. It extracted what little they had through a system built specifically for that purpose, then sent them back underground to earn more. The West was not won at the card table. For most of the men who sat down at one, it was lost there. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is different. We don't do myths. We do the real machinery of the Wild West. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the video right below this one for another gritty piece of history that Hollywood doesn't want to touch.